Hello, everybody, and welcome to our market update for the 11th of February 2026. Glad to be here with all of you. It was nice to see a lot of you during the market chat today. I hope all of you are doing well. Hope a lot of you made money and all of you made money in the markets today. Let's see where we are as we wrap up a Wednesday. You can see where we always start with the NASDAQ here. It's been tough to get over this level, 635. In fact, we're right now not all that close, about 3%, 4% away. So for me, as I mentioned to you on Sunday, this is the level that I need to see taken out, or I need to see this level taken out at 584. And we drew this line in when we had that second test of that all-time high. So you can see we are in a pretty well-defined channel here with the upper band being the all-time high, 635 or so, and then I would try to connect as many of these pivot lows as I can, which brings us to right around 600. So it's about a 6% range that we're currently in. And I need to see a break above that range for me to get interested in any longs or shorts. All last year, once we got past Liberation Day and we started the uptrend, uh, I was firmly long. But now, whether it's what I'm reading and hearing on social media from some of these experts that are expecting a bit of a pullback, and again, my research starts with the charts, and then I will look for confirmation from either fundamentals or confirmation from what experts are considering doing, saying, etc. So in this case, I'm less optimistic about us going back to all-time highs than I was last year when we got into similar patterns. So they're around here. And I think we may test this level down here at 583 before we test all-time highs now. This is just from what I'm seeing. If this thing rips tomorrow and we get up to 600, of course, sorry, 635, of course, I'll change my mind. But from what I'm seeing right now, I can't really do anything because I don't really have any direction. If we go over to the S&P, the picture looks a little bit better. That green trend following indicator that we're using for the as the chandelier exit, we're still above that. So here we've got a bit of a tighter range for where we are in the channel. And in this case, I'm a little bit more optimistic than I am with the NASDAQ in terms of where we would go next. But still, this is an area of indecision for me. So I need to see a break above these all-time highs at 697 or below this chandelier support area of I call it 680. We're at 677 and change there. So again, nothing for me to do here. And for those of you that missed the Sunday video, there are now re-entries on the velocity chart. So there's the main long, it'll say re-entry long, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll talk about some of those in just a moment as I show you the scanner. In fact, there's a re-entry long here. So those are all colored yellow. So generally the way I'm looking at the re-entry long, so when I look at the initial long, there, I want to see and I want to make sure that I've taken out a previous pivot high. And the key part of that statement is that it has to be above the ribbon. So if I look at this entry here, the previous pivot high above the ribbon comes in around here or so at 448. So this is a trade that would go on my watch list when I get this main long signal. And because we didn't take out this high here, this on the 12th of May then becomes my next area of resistance that I need to clear. Okay, so I'll say that again. When I first get the long trade, I look to my left and see if I've taken out a previous pivot high above the ribbon. And in this case, that area is right around here at 447, 448. I do not. I come back, I test the top of the ribbon, but on this bar here, I do take out that previous new pivot high that's above the ribbon. So my entry is there, and it looks like it's on an ex-div day, 32 cents. On a $400 stock isn't really going to do much. So there's the entry there from me on the 16th of May. And the next bit of assessment that I do is, am I within a tolerable range for my stop loss? My stop loss goes here, so it will be the higher of these two. It'll either be the bottom of the ribbon, I beg your pardon, the bottom of the ribbon, or the chandelier exit. In this case, it's the bottom of the ribbon, where I know I have a little bit more support. And of course, I have more support, even more support down here. So if I look at this entry here, which is 428 or 426, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, 426. The bottom of the ribbon comes in at 413. 13 points, it's about 3%. This is my trade right here. I don't want to be any more than 5% for stocks. I may consider up to 10, but for ETFs like this one here, slow and steady, 3% is the right entry for me personally. So there's my entry here. And you can see we test the bottom of the ribbon. And what do you know? We find support. We close near the top of the ribbon. And then we never really come back and test that ribbon ever again. I think we're still, yeah, we're quite far. So that is the criteria that I use for my conservative entries on the main longs. Then you have a re-entry here. In this case, what I would do is just put my stop loss at the ATR that is painted by the chandelier exit. There comes an exit there. There's another re-entry. And I make the same assessment, except I make my exit criteria even more strict. In this case, I don't want to be any more than 2 to 3% from my stop loss level, because from here, you can see we've got I wouldn't, maybe not an extended trend, but the trend is certainly well underway. And you're going to have these moves that are below the ATR. But to come back down to the ribbon, it's going to take quite a move down. So there's another re-entry long at 478, and we're still in that trade at 501. So this one, it's impressive. No doubt. The Dow has been the standout, at least for me this year. Silver and gold, of course, were for the first part of the year, then the Dow now certainly moving. This reversal bar today could be interesting, but nothing for me to get concerned about at this point here. So this one for me, not a new entry. My entry was back here. Previous entry was there. Previous entry was there. So throughout this trend, we've had some really, really nice runs. We go over to gold and silver, and same kind of thing here. This has been an even longer trend, along which we've had many, many re-entries. So there's a re-entry long there. There's one that looks like it didn't work for all that long. I'm going to zoom in on that. Let's take a look at that. So there's our re-entry long at 27.10 on the gold futures. And I think you're out the very next day at 26.12. So this was a quick reversal. And there was nothing wrong with this trade here. Everything seemed to line up. Everything was well within my range for stop loss. And it just turned out to be an ugly bar the next day. This one here, the re-entry at 26.92, we get as high as about 2700 or so. It's 2760. And then we come right back down. And do we get a close here? There's the exit there at 2608. So the entry here on the re-entry, 2718, 2608. Then we get this re-entry here, which comes in at a level of 2715. And you're in that trade, you hit a high of 3202. And that entry that gets you out right here, the exit add-on. So we're working on the labels. If you have suggestions for what you would like to see to distinguish the exit on a main long versus the exit on a re-entry long, I'm open to suggestions. So when it says exit add-on, that means it's the exit specifically for the re-entry. That would be this trade here. And then there's another re-entry here at 3,000. And we get, where do we get? As high as 3,500, close at 3,240. Next re-entry, 3,460. Now, even though this trade worked out really well, I may not take this trade. 3,450 down to 3,233. This is just too much risk for me. And you can see we do get a bit of a pullback. that comes right back down to the Chandelier exit. So what do I do in this case? Well, I put this on my watch list and I patiently wait for a move down to that ATR level. And then when I see a bar where there is divergence between the price and the cumulative volume delta down here, so where the price is going down, but it looks like more buyers are stepping into the market, that's when I look for another entry because otherwise it would be hard for me to gauge where the next entry would be. I could do it here, I could do it here. I could just simply use when it gets to within 3% of the stop loss level, I could buy here, but on this kind of bar, I'm risking exactly what happened a few bars later, which is we come back down even further. My ideal situation is that we touch the ATR, like we do here, we find support, and we close in the top half of the bar. So from 3307 approximately to 3258, it's about 50 points on $3,200. This would be sort of the trade that I'm looking for here. Because if it doesn't work, I get closed out, no big deal. But when it works, it goes from 30, whatever our number was, 3308 approximately to our exit that we hit. I think it's on this ugly bar right here to 4100. So it's about an 800 point gain on that risk that we had of 50 points, barring any gaps, of course. Here's the next reentry, closing just around break even. Here's the next reentry at 4250. The question is, would I take this one, 4250 down to 3972? It's near 5%. I may consider it, or I may consider it coming back and testing the ATR, which it never really does until this bar here. So this, we could debate whether this is in the top half of the bar or not. I think when you get a move like this, or when I get a move like this is a trade that I would want to consider. Low risk, high reward. So there's the entry here at 4363. We get, I think, to 5,500 approximately. And then there is that bar that we all remember. It happened on the Friday when we were on the market chat. And the close there comes at 4767. And we're currently in another reentry, which reminds me. So I showed you the velocity scanner here on Google Sheets. After we got off the chat today, I was able to actually program this into a dashboard that all of you can use. And right now it's very simple. You just put in the symbols that you're looking for and it will do a full scan for you. So here's GLD, and all you got to do is put the symbol in, and it kind of tells you here's what you're looking at. The current price, so 467.63, so GLD 467.63, and currently in a main long. We've been in that main long for almost 300 days, and the current return on that main long is just about 80, no, just over 88%. That cushion is the distance from where we currently are to the stop loss area, which is there at 365. And are we currently in a re-entry state? Yes, we are. And is there any kind of signal change today? There is not. So what you'll be able to do is just put in whatever signals you want here, and we are going to do the same for the victory scanner as well. I'll likely work on that either tomorrow or Friday, and we will get this out to you. There are a few bugs that I need to work on here because the scanner sometimes is giving you a little bit more advanced notice on signals than the actual chart is. So I want to make sure that those things are aligned. And just to give you an example, so I did the NASDAQ 100. So there's 100 tickers there. And if we go into our scanner, so right now, one of the requirements on this is you have to put a comma in between each of the tickers. You can't just put them in a straight line. Put the tickers in, you run your scanner, and I want to say it takes probably less than a minute to do these 100. So let's see. I feel like we should have some kind of catchy music for this part of the market update. And there you go. So it produces similar results to what you see on the Google spreadsheet, but this one we can actually share with you and you can customize it. You can put whatever you want. Now, if you are looking for a strategy that you're working on and you'd like me to build a scanner for you, I'm very happy to do it. Just let me know what the strategy is. Maybe you're looking at Bollinger Bands, mm, MACD, certain moving averages, and you've got a system that works for you and you're looking for entries, exits, or you're just looking to be alerted on those, send it to me and I'm happy to make a dashboard for you like this. And you can sort this just by signal, which is what I would want to do, and look to see where the newest signals are. So there's a couple of exits here, a couple of new main shorts, a couple of new re-entries, and there's a new main long on Cintas as well. So we go to Cintas. I think the scanner is a little bit ahead. So tomorrow morning, when the first bar opens, you will see a new long here on Cintas. So as I mentioned, the scanner seems to be a little bit ahead of the chart. One note of caution on the scanner. Right now, it's only set up for, excuse me, it's only set up for daily scans. The goal here on this area on the left is to allow you to set up specific watch lists and to allow you to scan on with this system or with whatever system you're using on different time frames. So I'm sure it can be done. It just needs a little bit of work to put that together. So anyway, that's what it looks like. I hope, and this will be available. You'll just go to a URL, so you'll be able to just access it like that. Let me just work the kinks out of it, so I can give you a product that I'm happy with. Going back, we looked at gold. We did not look at silver yet. So there's SLV. Uh, we drew these lines in, I believe it was on Sunday, on the Sunday video. So this is a pretty wide range from 50 to about 82 or so. It's got to break out or break down for me. I think in this case, certainly, I think we'd all agree that it's much more likely to touch the upper band here at 82 than we are to touch this lower band at 50, although stranger things have happened. But that's what I would expect. When we get above that, and I get a re-entry signal, that's when I would consider a new long. Actually, in this case, yes, it would be a re-entry signal. The trend bounce, I think we've talked about in the past, and if you need more information on that, let me know. And what are we looking at? We've got earnings. We had earnings today, Cisco, and so Cisco, I think everyone sold out at the new all-time highs, coming back down here. And so there's our previous reentry. So unlike Vince's system, which is trying to catch these quick, quick moves, this is meant to, especially on a daily chart, it's meant to keep me in the trade a little bit longer. So it works well with my trading style. And I want I want the gain from 70 to a high of here 80 instead of trying to pick up a dollar or $2 here. So I want the gain from 78 all the way to a high of 87. Now, the one that I feel like I missed out on, one of the many, and this was really the driving factor behind getting this uh, scanner done as quickly. Oh, I'd mentioned in a previous session that I would talk about this area here. So recall the discussion that we had on the Dow and the entries. Okay. So let's talk about this main short that comes in first. Remember the rule was I need to see a break of a previous pivot low. Now we could say that there's the break there since we did go below that. So that could be an entry. I would be a little bit more cautious in hindsight, of course. that would have been the right approach. But if I would take this trade, nothing wrong with it. 43.21 and my exit would be at 44.13. It's fine. I think it's a small amount, 3% or so, and then you can see that you actually get out just a little bit above worse than break even. Now the next entry, the main long, this is the interesting one here. Remember our rule? A break above a previous pivot high, clearly defined. I would say that one is the most clearly defined one. This one's not bad. So we could, even if we use this one, we never break that high. So I don't get into this trade. There's the stop that comes. We stayed out of one bad trade. We had just about a break even trade. Here's another main long. Same rule. It's got to break a previous pivot high, which is there. We never do that. Gets closed out the next day. Main short, got to break a previous pivot low right there. We don't break that. So we stayed out of one, two, three, four, five out of the six trades in this area of consolidation. And when we finally do get one, this one's pretty clear. If we look to the left, there's our previous pivot high clearly defined. There's probably one in this area here if I'm just leaning into the screen to see it. But even if that was our previous clearly defined pivot high, that's a pretty convincing bar. So that bar there, although the volume and the CVD doesn't suggest that. Now, we do get situations sometimes where you get a thrust like this, and I think we had that on FITB. You get a thrust like this, and you get a very significant volume delta. And if we go back and take a look, there's something, there's the kind that I'd be looking for. So let's go back here. So there's our main long that comes in, 44.81. I make my assessment, 43.74. This is the kind of trade I want all day. So this one goes up quickly, comes back down. I've been experimenting with this. Instead of taking these trades here, do I want to take it when it touches the ATR? It's not a, sometimes it can be, I've learned that I can be a little too conservative. So I'm okay with taking this trade because the stop loss is manageable for me, especially on an ETF. There's no earnings to worry about. It's just general market risk at that point, but a little bit more because it's much more concentrated in one industry. So there's the entry there at 44.70. We get to 46.60, then come back a little bit and get to 46.66 or 76, come back down. And then we get this next new main long at 46.89 and the bottom of the ribbon. 44.63. Now, this is an interesting situation where I've got to make a judgment call on where I want the stop loss to be. And I want to make this as mechanical as possible. I'll go back to my conservative nature and say I want the higher of these two areas. So 44.21, 44.58. It's actually not that much different. So if I'm playing this with longer term options like leaps, or if I'm doing this with a debit spread, which is well priced, I may just use this as my stop loss area here instead of the ATR because I know I've got at least one level of support here, then I've got another level of support there. And if the price ever lands in this small area here, I can always make a decision on what I want to do. And then this trade comes back and from 46.89, we're now currently trading at 55. For an ETF, that's pretty darn good. Which is why, to tie up this topic, which is why I regret not having the scanner, which would have pointed this out to me. Okay. The other one that had earnings today was the other one that was of note to me. Not really a big move after hours on Apple. All right, there is one I'm looking at for a short. We've been talking about this for quite some time. It actually did peak below this ribbon, and how this stock has held up this well, I still am trying to explain that to myself because there's no reason why with the accounting stuff that's been well documented by uh, by short sellers. Now, of course, consider the source. They're short sellers. They have a vested interest in this thing collapsing. But just having the accounting background, there's I really want to consider this as a short if I get a proper short entry here. So there was our short, excuse me, our long re-entry close below the ATR becomes a bit of a just a little worse than a break-even trade. There's the previous re-entry. You can see how well we did on that. Okay. Tomorrow, which is Thursday, Coinbase, Pinterest, Crocs, DraftKings, Applied Materials. That one I think will be interesting. I think AMAT had come up a couple of times on. So there's the re-entry, most recent re-entry on AMAT at 322 or so, and now we're at 340, and I believe these are all-time highs. Yes, they are. So let's see how AMAT earnings turn out. Hope this was helpful. We're back again with our next market chat at 1 p.m. on Friday. We hope you can join us then. In the meantime, I will continue working diligently on the scanner so we can get this out to you to play around with and give us your feedback on it. If there are certain columns that you want in here, let us know. Really, it's so customizable, and I think I wouldn't say I would say anything is possible. If not, well, we'll just let you know. Okay, that's it. We will see you on Friday. In the meantime, of course, we always wish you profitable trading, the best of health. We'll see you then.